Welcome in everyone, this is Sean with MTG808 Jr., and today we're going to be taking a look at the top 4 deck lists from our most recent Youth Standard Pauper tournament, hosted by Westside Comics on July 29th, 2018. Before we jump into that though, just want to make sure everyone knows about our upcoming tournaments. Our next scheduled tournament is for August 19th on a Sunday, again over at Westside Comics. The format will be Youth Standard Pauper. We are hoping to schedule a tournament over at The Planet in the next couple weeks. Not sure which week it's going to be yet. The Planet just moved, so we need to figure out some dates and times and figure out my schedule as well. So we will be having that up on the Facebook page once we schedule it, so keep an eye there. Another new bit of awesome here. If you haven't heard already, this coming Saturday, we are going to be presenting a panel over at Comic-Con Honolulu. So we'll just be going over a little bit of the story of how we got started as a project, running youth tournaments, how we built up to giving away scholarship money. So I will be presenting along with 3 of the club advisors, who are really on the front line in the trenches, making sure that this project is possible. Andrew Shane is the advisor at Moanalua Middle. Dave Espina is the advisor over at Kapolei Middle, and Michael Ulip is an advisor for the Magic Club over at August Aarons Elementary School, and then of course I will be there as well. So if you're going to be at Comic-Con, come check us out. We'll be presenting on Saturday at 5:45. Short panel presentation and then Q&A for the rest of the time. So hope to see you there. All right, so top 4 of our most recent Youth Standard Pauper tournament. We had 8 players show up. We had a very red-heavy metagame and a very red-heavy top 8. All of the players here top 4. All the players here in the top 4 were playing red. I believe no, not all of them were playing Shock. Night-O was not playing Shock, but the rest of them were playing Shock, some number of Lightning Strike. We see these cards just being some of the most powerful effects in the format. There's a shot of the entire tournament. So here we have our top 4. Jacob is playing Mono Red Aggro. Night-O is playing Red Black Control. Jeffrey is playing Red Black Pirates, or as he likes to call it, hopefully Pirates, and then RJ was playing Mono Red Wizards. So even though we kind of see the domination of red decks here, we're going to take a little bit of a closer look at them and really highlight some of the differences here, because even though 2 Mono Red aggro decks made it, they were both built very, very differently. So first we have RJ. His Mono Red deck is kind of Wizards focused, and by that I mean he puts to use one of the new additions from M19, Viashino Pyromancer. Now, I did not include this guy in my M19 set review, and it was probably a mistake not to. So, just this guy, it might be better than Firebrand Archer, which was a staple in red decks for a long time. Because this guy will just deal 2 damage when it comes into play. So when Firebrand Archer is at its worst, it's not going to deal any damage with its triggers. So Viashino Pyromancer automatically deals 2 damage to the opponent when you play it. So it's better than the worst Firebrand Archer. Sometimes Firebrand Archer, if you get like 3, 4, 5 triggers off of it, then it's going to be way better than Pyromancer. But in that situation where it's in play that long, Pyromancer will still have probably been fine. But notably, Viashino Pyromancer is a wizard, which turns on Gitu Journey Mage. So we'll talk more about this over here in Magic Online. We will have a link to that to this text version of the deck in the description. But over here on Magic Online, so Viashino Pyromancer is a wizard. Gitu Journey Mage cares about wizards. Now, we tried to build a wizard deck prior to M19, and there just weren't enough good aggressive wizards to make this guy worth playing. But now that we are playing wizards, now that we have Viashino Pyromancer, and then the other wizard in the deck is Gitu Lava Runner, Gitu Journey Mage has a reasonable chance of being turned on and coming into play and dealing 2 damage to the opponent. These very aggressive red decks just want to have what we call reach. And in Magic, when we say reach, we mean the ability to end a game after your opponent has stabilized, right? So your opponent might put up a couple blockers, or they might just wipe your board. And the more like direct damage spells that you have, the more reach that you have to kind of kill your opponent after they stabilize. So Gitu Journey Mage adds to that. Viashino Pyromancer adds to that. And then another addition here that RJ chose to play, Keldon Overseer. 3 mana, 3/1 with haste. You know, it's a decent 3 mana play. I did see RJ pay the kicker cost on this a couple times. So 7 mana, you can play it, steal their guy, attack them, right? So you're removing a blocker and adding 2 attackers to your side of the field. So oftentimes that might just overwhelm the opponent and deal the last couple points of damage, even if your opponent it seems like they have the board locked up. Playing this guy with kicker is a really good way to kind of finish off a game. Other than that, we see some of the mainstay creatures for a red. Fanatical Firebrand, probably the best red 1-drop for aggressive decks. Gitu Lava Runner. The deck is playing 12 spells in the main deck, so it's not always going to be buffed, but when it is, you know, it's nice. And then it's also a wizard to help Gitu Journey Mage. So Gitu Lava Runner. Nest Robber is his other go-to 2-drop, 2 mana, 2/1 haste. There are lots of other options in the 2 mana slot, but RJ chose to play Nest Robber. It worked out for him. The other red deck, Jacob's red deck that we'll be looking at in a little bit, played some other 2-drops, so you know, there are lots of different ways to build the red deck here. Of course, we've got 4 Shock. He's got 4 Lightning Strike, and then 4 Built to Smash. He's not playing any artifact creatures, so he's not going to give any creatures trample, but Built to Smash really just allows him to keep attacking with his creatures, right? They think they're going to get favorable blocks. You pay 1 red mana. Built to Smash kills their creature, keeps your creature alive most of the time. So Built to Smash is awesome. Also, one of the benefits of playing a monocolored aggro deck is you get to play Sunscorched Desert, which, again, when we're talking about reach, all these little hits to the face, straight shots to the face, they do kind of add up. So, you know, just a very solid, very lean mono red aggro deck. RJ is one of the elementary school kids from August Aaron's elementary school, so shout out to his advisor Mike Ulip for helping him make the deck. Very, very smooth, clean deck. In the sideboard here, we see some of the mainstays. Magma Spray, very good against the white aggro deck with all the Embalm creatures. Dual Shot, Blazing Volley, very good in these red mirrors where you have lots of 1 toughness creatures. Smelt, very good against Artificers, killing their Inventor's Goggles. Out of Nowhere is very clutch. Act of Treason, just some more of these steal your guy effects. Minotaur Sure Shot, I didn't ever see him bring this in, but if you're worried about flyers, this guy does a decent job of it. Most of the time, red is just gonna use their removal on the flyers if they need to race, or just try to race the flyers. Trumpet Blast. I don't know how much I like this card in the deck. The deck does have kind of a low curve, but paying 3 mana to maybe give your team +4 power, maybe +6 power. This one seems a little narrow, but it's probably fine. And then Spark Tongue Dragon, 5 mana, 3/3, and then if you have 8 mana, it comes into play, deals 3 damage to any target, so creature or player. And then I don't know why it disappeared here, but the last card in his sideboard is a mountain. If you're going to bring in Spark Tongue Dragon, try to get to 8 mana, you want to play more lands. One recommendation is he's only playing 3 Desert of the Fervent in the main deck. He might want his sideboard land to be the 4th Desert of the Fervent. Alright, so shout out to RJ for Mono Red Wizards, putting Gitu Journey Mage to work, and it does some heavy lifting. Next deck here, coming in third, we had Jeffrey playing Hopefully Pirates. This is the same deck that Jeffrey played to a top 4 finish at our youth scholarship tournament back in May. He might have made a couple of changes, but the deck is largely the same. Let's see here. We're going to switch over here back to Moto and Hopefully Pirates. Okay, so this deck is just kind of like your definition of play the best creatures that you have available to you. He has Pirate Synergy, right? Headstrong Brute gets Menace when you play a bunch of pirates. He gets to play a 3 mana 3/3 in Fathom Fleet Border with no drawback if he has any pirates. Headstrong Brute can't block even if you do have a pirate. And then, of course, Buccaneers Bravado is the big payoff. We've seen this deck before. I'm not going to go too much into it. Run Amok and Buccaneers Bravado gives the deck a lot of burst finish power. The weakest part of this deck is probably its mana base. Jeffrey was struggling. There were some games where he just didn't have black mana, couldn't play his 1 mana or his 1 drop. No Fathom Fleet Border. These were kind of stuck in his hand a lot. There wasn't really a good solution to that, because if you want to play dual lands that make both colors of mana, then they're going to come into play tapped. In this format. So an aggro deck that's playing 2 colors, you do lose out on some consistency, which did punish Jeffrey a little bit, but you do get some sweet sideboard options. So we did see Naya playing control in this tournament, which we'll talk about in a second, but black gives him some good sideboard options against control, whereas if he was just playing mono red, he would have fewer options. But that's not to say that mono red cannot beat control, so spoiler warnings. We're gonna move on here. Next deck. Okay, so that was the top 4. Oh, just a little side event. Jeffrey really likes Saprolings. He plays Saprolings in regular standard and collects Saproling tokens, so that's why everyone, or these 3 guys at least, were holding up Saproling tokens, because Jeffrey was letting everyone borrow Saproling tokens throughout the tournament. So shout out to Jeffrey for those Saproling tokens. Alright, moving on, the finals, we saw Naia's red-black control deck. Naia beat RJ in the semis, and then Jacob here beat Jeffrey in the semis. So they faced off in the finals. Jacob ended up beating Naia in 3 very close games. So congratulations to Jacob from Kapolei Middle School. Naia is going to be starting 9th grade at Kamehameha schools. So shout out to Naia for 2nd place. All right, taking a look at... Oh, this is Jacob's deck. We're going to start with Naia's deck. So 2nd place deck, Naia, again, link to the text in the description, and over here, red-black control. Okay, so this is pretty close to the red-black control list that I made a video on not too long ago. Naia did really well in the tournament. He just kind of rolled over everyone else's aggro decks. As I said, a lot of the format, a lot of the field that day was these mono-red aggro decks, or red-based aggro decks. There was one Artificer's deck in the field, but Naia did not play against her. So, again, we just see a pile of removal, and then the endgame loop of Gitu Chronicler and Wander in Death. All right, Naia could not get a 4th Wander in Death, so he's playing 1 Recover in that slot as a replacement effect. So... Naia realized that Dusk Legion Zealot is kind of like the lubricant to keep the deck flowing, right? You want to get your card advantage early in the game while still adding to the board. You just use your removal spells to kill all their creatures, and then hopefully take over with the card advantage of Dark Bargain, Gitu Chronicler, Wander in Death. Horror of the Broken Lands helps turn on Wander in Death. Naia was really pleased with Queen's Ancient throughout the day. Windgrace Acolyte gaining him life also mattered, especially against Jacob, who had just a ton of reach burn. So Naia was really happy with this deck. He lost to Jacob in the last round of Swiss, and then he lost to Jacob again in the finals. Very close games. I think in both of their matches, Naia kind of mulliganed a lot. He didn't stumble on mana, but he got flooded in some games, right? This deck is playing 23 lands. Naia is not playing any of the cycle lands, so, that might be something he wants to consider if he wants to add consistency to the deck. But other than that, this is a solid deck. Not going to talk too much here about the sideboard, just a diversity of removal, duress against other control decks. The card that I had in my sideboard, if you do play against the Artificer's deck, is Divest. 1 mana sorcery. Look at target player's hand, take a creature out of it, and then creature or artifact, and then they discard it. So if you want to get those Bastion Inventors out of your opponent's hand, Divest is probably your best answer. Okay, so that's Naia's red-black control deck. Came really close to winning the tournament. Both of his losses against Jacob were really close, but Jacob's consistency just kind of won the day. So here we have mono red aggro. Boom. So Jacob's deck is just like super lean. Here, once again, mono red aggro. We'll have a link to the text in the description. So Jacob's deck is just super lean, right? He's playing 6 1-drop creatures. He's playing kind of a strange amalgam of 2-drops, right? We haven't seen Wall of Forgotten Pharaohs in mono red aggro, but it really worked out for him. These dealt a lot of damage for him throughout the day. Again, he's just trying to take shots to the face. Same thing here with Firebrand Archer. He's playing 22 spells that will trigger Firebrand Archer, and then Aether Chaser is his other 2-drop. And then his 3-drop here, Thorned Moloch. This is not my favorite 3-drop. I think Thresher Lizard is slightly better, but he is playing a lot of spells. Having First Strike, especially when he's going to strap it up with Swashbuckling or Short Sword or Sparring Construct counters, First Strike does allow him to kind of make some attacks that he wouldn't otherwise attack. This guy does only have First Strike when attacking, though. So, as I said earlier, we've seen these red decks built in a variety of ways, right? There's lots of good 2-drops that red decks can choose from. There's lots of good 3-drops that red decks can choose from. One thing of note, Sparring Construct, we haven't seen... I suggested this when Dominaria came out in a couple of red deck builds. This is the first time we've seen Sparring Construct kind of have tournament success in the hands of one of the kids. So, it's good to see this little aggressive guy do well. Just having a creature to play early, start attacking, not be afraid to trade it off. And then one thing of note, or a couple things of note in this deck, Warlord's Fury. This is just a cheap cycling card. Technically cycling, right? You just play it. You can play it even with no creatures in play, just to draw a card. Or if you do have creatures in play, it might turn on some attacks that you wouldn't otherwise turn on. It'll trigger Prowess. It'll trigger Firebrand Archer. And then, so it might push some damage through. It might add some damage to the board. This is just an all-around solid card. I think I like it better than Renegade Tactics, which is a similar effect that we've seen red decks play. So Warlord's Fury is an option to keep in mind for these red decks. And then Blur of Blades is the other card that we have not really seen too many red decks play, but Jacob used to great success here. So 2 mana instant, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Oftentimes that will kill a creature. Sometimes it'll shrink a creature, and then you can kill it in combat. And then Blur of Blades deals 2 damage to that creature's controller. So when we're talking about reach here, Jacob has 4 shocks, right? Fanatical Firebrand can go to the face. He has 3 Lightning Strikes that can go to the face. Blur of Blades goes to the face. Firebrand Archer goes to the face. Wall of Forgotten Pharaohs goes to the face. Sunscorched Desert goes to the face. And then Run Amok can give creatures trample to kind of push damage through. So we see kind of just a lot of reach, and that in his games against Naya was kind of able to kill his creatures, but then he wasn't really able to gain enough life to, once he stabilized, that Jacob... I think both games that Jacob won in the finals, he just burned out Naya. Naya kind of sort of stabilized, was kind of like getting his engine going. He kind of hit a land pocket, wasn't able to deal with all the creatures in play, and then Jacob just like piled on the burn spells to finish him off. So, this is one way to build the red deck with just a ton of reach. So, hope you found these videos insightful. If you found them useful and you want to support the channel, please, of course, just your viewing of the channel is the, great support. If you want to support more, you can hit that like button. You can share this video with your friends. You can subscribe to the channel to make sure you're always getting updates on Standard Pauper. And then, of course, if you want to support us more, if you want to support Standard Pauper content, or if you just want to support these youth tournaments that we're running here on Oahu, please consider becoming a patron subscriber. It is the last day of July, so we are hoping to finalize our new Patreon perk for those playmats, which we have a sneak peek for you here. This is the latest sketch The concept changed a little bit since the last time we shared it with you guys, but this is the latest sketch of the playmat that we'll be releasing. We got some of the Hawaiian gods in the background watching the kids playing Magic. I love this concept. It's beautiful artwork. Alika does such a great job with his art. So if you want to get your hands on one of these playmats, the only way to do that is to become a bronze contributor for 3 months, or just go straight to a silver contributor. All of our contributors get silver or above. All of our contributors get access to our expenditure report. We haven't really been putting them out monthly, but we do organize them by month, so you will get to keep an eye on how we are spending your money. So please consider becoming a patron subscriber. All of the scholarship that we give away is funded through Patreon. All of the tournaments that we're able to run, we're hoping to run more than 2 tournaments a month this school year. The club advisors are really stepping up and able to help me kind of increase capacity here. But all of our tournaments that we are doing are completely funded by this Patreon. So if you can, please, if you can and you want to support, please consider becoming a patron. All right. Thanks for stopping by. Once again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell if you want to get all the notifications, and thank you for stopping by. Peace.